In this video, we're going to configure our plain Ubuntu instance with Django for users who would prefer to set things up themselves. I'm going to go over a series of install requirements here, and hopefully I won't forget too many of them. First step will be to tunnel into our instance. I don't remember our IP address though, so I'm going to go find that in the AWS dashboard. And actually, I'm just going to copy the entire SSH command. It's so convenient that they leave it there for you. Okay, great. We're in. Now I'm going to go through a series of installation steps. I'll try and provide a balance between brief commentary and just getting this done as quickly as humanly possible. So this video isn't 30 minutes long. First thing we'll want to do is update our native package manager so that we can use it to install things. Okay, next we'll want to install pip so we can use that to install things too if we'd like. People who create a virtual environment variable on their local machine will probably want it. Next, let's install our web server software, Apache, along with some extra packages we'll want. Let's also install mod WSGI, which is an Apache module that can host WSGI compatible applications like Django. Cool. Now let's install MySQL. I'll install PostgreSQL afterwards. Okay, we'll want the server and the client. And okay, it's asking us to set the root password. We'll have to save this somewhere or else we'll have to reset the root password, which is a slight pain. Now we'll want the right Python bindings for MySQL, so Python and Django can manage our database for us, but I forget what that's called. Let me look it up really quickly. Oh yeah, MySQL client. Crap, I forgot some dependency. 1 second. Oh yes, the development library would be a dependency. Oh, and I forgot that both for MySQL and Python. Here you go. Okay, now we should be ready for MySQL client. Okay, I'm going to double check that I installed this MySQL package correctly. I think it'll show already installed. Yeah, okay. Now let's install PostgreSQL. And now the bindings. Okay, now let's finally do Django. All right, so let's quickly test how our web server Apache is doing by seeing what our server currently displays. Let me pull up the IP address and view it in a browser. Apache's default page. Cool, looking good so far. Now let's go to the web folder. On Ubuntu, that's normally var www. This is the directory that Apache is going to open up for the web by default. If you'd like to serve files from another folder, that's fine, but you'll need to whitelist it in the Apache configuration files. Okay, we'll want to make the current user Ubuntu an owner with modification rights so that we can add our project. Now let's create a Django project in this directory. Let's name it project, as that matches the current Bitnami version. Cool. Okay, working well. Let's use the manage.py migrate command to test if that works. Yup. Now we're going to need to modify our Apache configuration files. I believe those are in the etc on Ubuntu's. Let's navigate there. Yeah, I see Apache too. Now let's make ourselves an owner with right permissions here as well so that we can modify Apache's configuration. I'm going to start FileZilla so that I can modify Apache's configuration from a GUI. I have the settings saved in FileZilla, but if you forget how to connect to your instance via FTP, see my previous video for details. Okay, let's navigate back to the Apache folder. Awesome. I think this file, Apache 2, is the main configuration file, but let's check out the default page, which should provide some documentation on this matter. Yeah, this is the right file to modify. Okay, let's add some custom Django configurations here at the bottom. We're going to want to create a WSGI script alias that maps the URL, the root URL, just the slash, to our project's WSGI file, which will serve the response. Next, we're going to set the WSGI Python path to our outer project folder so that we can import it if we'd like. And lastly, we're going to make sure that the inner project directory is accessible for Apache. Oh, and let's just leave some comments here so that if we have to modify this later, it's immediately obvious where we made changes. We're definitely going to want to overwrite these changes, so click yes. Make sure the transfer succeeds below. It'll show up in the failed transfers if it does not. And let's restart Apache so this new configuration is loaded. And finally, let's test our project in a browser. Yes, it worked. We're all set. In this video, we configured our Ubuntu server from scratch instead of relying on Bitnami. It took a bit more work, but probably results in greater understanding. In the next video, we're going to transfer over our project files so that we display more than just a welcome screen. Don't worry if you don't have a project already. You can take the sample project in the Getting Started videos.